Hey everyone, how's it going? Coming to y'all with another knife video. This one is a comparison between the Gerber Air Ranger going against its copy, the Smith Wesson model CK105. Now there are many variations of both of these knives, available in different handle colors, different handle materials in the case of the Air Ranger, coming in a G10 at one point, as well as different blade styles, plain edge, combo edge, and in the case of the Smith Wesson CK105, even a Tanto blade version. However, I want to mostly review the two that I have in front of me by comparison to each other, while also addressing some differences that you can find between them, or between different versions of the knives made over the years. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The Gerber has a 3.2-inch blade made out of, in this case, 425M. This is an older Taiwanese-produced version. Even older versions of this with the original Gerber logo have a AUS 8 blade. Modern Gerber versions will have a 7CR17 MOV blade. On the Smith & Wesson, we have a 3.2-inch blade made of 7CR17 MOV. So, the exact same steel as the modern Gerber Air Ranger, which is really what you should keep in mind during this video, because you'd have to hunt down this 425M or AUS 8 versions of the blades if you wanted to pick them up. So I'm just going to run the video by acting like this is a 7CR17 MOV version. So we have the exact same blade length and blade steel on both knives. Blade shapes between the two, you can see, are virtually identical, although we have a higher grind point on the Smith & Wesson versus a more abrupt grind here. It looks like I'm starting to get a little bit of rust on here. I'm going to have to hit that with some seal wool, take care of that. But yeah, we have a lower starting grind here versus a higher grind on the Smith & Wesson. Now, what does that mean? Generally, it means that I can get an even sharper edge on the Smith & Wesson than I can the Gerber. I do get this nice and scary sharp, but this admittedly does get just a little bit sharper, which is helped by that relief edge being further back than the Gerber, if you can see that by comparison. Okay, relief edge on the Gerber. If I can get a full focus, there we go. Relief edge on the Smith & Wesson. But in terms of which blade steel is better, I have a lot of experience with both Smith & Wesson 7CR17 MOV and Gerber 7CR17 MOV. And what I can tell you is the Gerber 7CR17 holds up a little bit better. It holds an edge a little longer. They resist rust about the same. They sharpen up about the same. I don't really notice too much difference in how long it takes to get one sharp versus the other. Just that the Gerber holds a very slight edge over the Smith & Wesson. So, small point to Gerber in that fact. But honestly, it's very, very close. Jimping top side of the knives, you can see this kind of wider, broader, rectangular cut jimping on the Smith & Wesson, which gives us excellent traction, and we don't have any issue getting a grip there. On the Gerber, we have a more sharp, triangular cut jimping. Man, really starting to see some corrosion in there. And also locks the thumb in extremely well. So both have excellent traction from that jimping. In terms of deployment and lockup, the Gerber Air Ranger is very, very, very fast and locks up super solid. There is no play in this in any direction, and we can easily adjust the pivot point if we had to. What about the Smith & Wesson? Also very, very fast and very solid lockup. No play in any direction, and we could adjust that pivot point if we needed to. So they are both equal in that regard. What about as a locking mechanism? You can see they are both liner locks. But one thing you can definitely see is that we have a bit of a better engagement. Actually, they might be about the same engagement now that I'm looking at them closely between the two. But you can definitely see the fit and finish difference on that blade tang. See how rough the Smith & Wesson is versus the Gerber. So this does have a higher quality fit and finish. Both are riding on Teflon washers, by the way. Both are liner lock designs. However, the Smith & Wesson is a standard liner lock, sometimes called a captured liner lock, while the Gerber is a nested liner lock, meaning that we have the steel liner nested inside of that aluminum handle. Which does bring me down to the handle material. On the Gerber, it is a 6061 T6 aircraft grade aluminum. On the Smith & Wesson, it is a cast aluminum handle. So, a little bit lower quality on the Smith & Wesson, and in hand, I can definitely say that if you hold them side by side, the Gerber does feel to be slightly higher quality than the Smith & Wesson. That said, I love aluminum handled knives, so I enjoy both almost equally anyways. I have a slight preference towards the handle on this one because I'm not a huge fan of the cutout holes on the Smith & Wesson, but you may find it to be a very attractive design. They are both flow-through pillar constructed, so very, very easy to clean out if you have to. Now, in terms of the pocket clips, this is interesting because I have replaced the pocket clip on the Smith & Wesson with the CRKT clip because I hate the way the Smith & Wesson's clip carries by default. Here is a Remington version of the exact same knife, like literally the exact same knife, but I left the clip stock on this one. So I'll use this by way of comparison to the Gerber to show you how they carry, because it is an identical clip and placement to the original clip on the Smith & Wesson. And here you can see why. The Gerber carries significantly deeper than the Smith & Wesson does. This is just way too much knife exposed in the pocket for me. I don't like that as compared to here. Now, with the clip modification that I made, and it's very easy to do, you just, get a CRKT squid clip from CRKT, just message for a parts and replacement, and they'll mail you this, and it goes on nicely, and then we have about an even carry between the two knives. Obviously, this looks a little more natural, looks a little better, but they function identically at this point. In terms of clip strength, very stout, very strong clip on the Gerber. And on the Smith & Wesson, also very good tension on that. What about with the replacement clip? Same. Super strong tension, very adequate service on both clips. Neither can be swapped. They are both for right-hand tip-down carry only, which is a bit of a bummer because lefties kind of get screwed. I forgot to talk about the thumb studs by comparison to each other. You can see the Gerber on the top here has kind of a more traditional, not quite stepped design, but I guess we call that a step design on the Gerber, which are excellent and provide very good traction. On the Smith & Wesson, they are definitely taller with a more cylindrical shape and very slight stepping on that, if you can see. And while it is also very easy to get a grip on because those studs protrude from the handle a bit more as compared to where the Gerber, where it's pretty much flush, I will say that the thumb studs on the Gerber feel just a bit better, but they both function roughly equally. Weights on these two knives. The Gerber is 2.6 ounces, and it definitely feels like there's nothing there. The Smith & Wesson, 2.8 ounces, essentially the same weight. A little bit of weight added by having that full steel liner there, despite the fact that they've drilled and tapped out these handles. That liner added a fair bit in comparison to the nested liner method of the Gerber. Price point, though, is where the big contrast really comes in. The Gerber is $30, okay? And for $30, I still love the knife, including the modern 7CR17 MOV version. I love this design. It has long-standing been one of, if not my absolute favorite, everyday carry knives. I just love the way that it feels. I love the way that it looks. I love how it deploys. I love the aluminum handle. I love everything about it. So for $30, I still think it's a deal. However, the Smith & Wesson is only $11 for what is, in almost every regard, equal functionality. Again, slightly better edge holding here, slightly nicer handle material, but at the end of the day, 7CR17 MOV aluminum handle, 7CR17 MOV aluminum handle, albeit aircraft grade versus cast. They are still the same materials roughly when it is all said and done. So is the Gerber worth nearly 3 times what the Smith & Wesson is worth? It really comes down to personal preference. Smith & Wesson gets a bad rep for being like terrible knives, and at one point in time that was definitely true, but there have always been some decent Smith & Wesson knives in the mix of the junk, and I do feel this is one of them. I do like the CK105. I feel it's a perfectly adequate everyday carry knife for the average guy. No, it's not going to blow you away. No, it's not going to rock your world, but it will serve you very well as an EDC blade, as I've done with this for years now. So, what about variations? The Gerber Air Ranger, over the years, has come in gray aluminum, red aluminum, green aluminum, blue aluminum, black G10, with a plain edge and combo edge offered across various versions. The Smith & Wesson, over the years, has had silver aluminum, black aluminum, blue aluminum, and kind of green aluminum through these other branded versions. It's the exact same knife but with a different stamp. So you could kind of say that, the Straight X Timer's red aluminum or the Remington's green aluminum kind of count toward that same lineup. There's a Desert Tan aluminum, and then the blade styles come in plain edge, combo edge, and a combo edge Tonto blade for one of those variations. So, in terms of which ones are the better and have the most variation, it really comes down to personal preference. They're about the same number of variations, roughly. but which variation you prefer really is going to be personal preference. Between these two knives, I honestly think that it's a pretty fun comparison because it's obviously the exact same design of a knife. The Smith & Wesson copying the Air Ranger here, designed by Bill Harsey. And materials being so close, but price being quite different, I think made for an interesting comparative video. So let me know what you guys think down below. Which one of these two knives would you buy for your hard-earned money if you had to buy one knife for EDC? I would love to hear it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Until next time, peace and take care.